Today's September 25th, 2022. It's my birthday. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of strange that the last normal birthday I had, was in 2020. And was only really normal in the sense that it was the last birthday I ever had that was like the birthdays I have always had to some varying extent. And it's notable in that it's the last birthday I was able to share with my mom. The last time she got to tell me the story of my birth, which was a tradition going back as long as I can remember. And I'm fortunate in the fact that my 2020 birthday, the last time I heard that story, I filmed it. So I can still hear it. I haven't watched it yet this year, but the day is still young. Last year, 2021, was the worst birthday of my life because it was the first one without my mom in it. I didn't know what to do. I spent the whole day feeling completely gutted and empty and devoid of any semblance of happiness. And what I ended up doing is, at some point in the day, probably early to mid-afternoon, I drove out to my dad's house because I figured I could at least see my one living parent on my birthday. I texted him and I called him and didn't get an answer, so I went to his house. Fortunately, his door was open, so I walked in and he was asleep. I sat in his living room for like an hour and just didn't want to wake him up, because that's also the type of person I am. I'm really fucking weird, and it's one of my many Dante-isms. Because in the movie Clerks, Dante tells this story about when he was a kid and not wanting to rock the boat, the toilet seat on his little potty was down, so he shit his pants instead of changing things so he could shit comfortably. And that's, in so many ways, that's a story of my life. I let stuff go to shit. I don't do things just because of some irrational fear of upsetting the way things are going. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. So I sat in my dad's living room while he slept for about an hour, and then I left. And I drove a couple towns over to the cemetery where my mom's plaque is on the back of her brother's gravestone. And I sat there in the cemetery talking to nobody until it got too dark to see. And then I got back in my car and heading out of the graveyard. Going left would go back to my house, and going right would go back in the direction of my dad's house. I turned left, I started heading home. And then something in the back of my head says, no, go back. So I pulled a U-turn, I drove back to my dad's house. And also where the cemetery is, there's no service. So I was as disconnected as I could be. So I get back to my dad's house. I get a text from him. Well, it arrives to me when I'm part of the way back. And he says I can stop by if I like. And at this point, it's after 8 p.m. He had mentioned something, I don't know, either a few days or something before, but also just sort of in how my dad's brain worked it wasn't so much asking me what I wanted to do for my birthday. It was, hey, your birthday's coming up. I've been thinking I would really like to go out and eat steak. Not asking me what I wanted to do, but it was telling me what he wanted to do. Anyway, I get back to my dad's house. It's after 8 o'clock. Small town, New England, nothing is open. Get him a steak. It was not going to happen. So I sat in a chair in my dad's living room while he sat in his office chair that he had right in front of his TV where he played Xbox. He hadn't been doing well in general. His breathing had gotten worse and worse and worse. And this was a few weeks after we took a trip to Maine, and I took him to a legal weed store and everything. And so he tells me all about the legal weed he bought, and how the edibles he bought were bullshit, but also like his liver was in shit condition, and how the pre-rolls he bought knocked him and his roommate on their ass, and then continued, for lack of a better term, bitching about his problems, his health problems, his mobility, his breathing, The fact that he would sneeze or cough too hard and shit his pants for about an hour. Didn't ask me much about me, much about my day. Oh, what'd you do? How'd you spend your birthday? Is there anything I could do for you? Blah, blah, blah. None of that. None of that. It's just not the type of person my dad was. He very much lived in his own little world. For better or worse, and usually worst. So I got to share space with him. That's the way I spin it. Is I was fortunate enough to be able to share space with him, and even though it was mostly just him sitting and bitching. After about an hour or so, it was after 9 at that point. I had to head home. I still had an hour drive back. So I get up and give my dad a hug. He says, "Happy birthday. I love you." And that was the last time I saw him alive. The last words that he said to me, that wasn't a text. After my mom died in January, the night before she passed, at the hospice house with her that night, and she got her medication through her chemo pump, I guess is what you call it, whatever it is. And the hose had detached at some point that night. I don't know, it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and the nurse comes in to check on her, give her scheduled whatever, and she wakes up, and they, because she had soaked through her gown and everything, and it was also, I believe, the last time she was fully conscious before she died. And, she's disoriented. She doesn't know where she is, and frustrated. She's aggravated. The nurse is on one side, I'm on the other, and, I've got her hand, and it's, "Eric, I'm here. Everything's okay. We're taking care of you. I love you, Mama." And she looked up at me, and in that moment, she couldn't even talk at that point. She couldn't drink water. She was... she looks up at me, and she just barely a whisper, just, "I love you too." And as far as I know, that was the last thing she ever said. So I guess I'm fortunate in that regard that my mom and my dad both got to say "I love you" before they died. That was the last thing they told me before they died. Now, my siblings weren't so lucky. So I leave my dad's house. I drive the hour home. I haven't eaten anything all day, because again, when you're in that mental state, that's the last thing you think of. They popped a bag of microwave popcorn, and that was my birthday dinner. And I think I made a Facebook post about it being the worst birthday of my life. And then I went to bed. Fast forward 365 days, and here I am, by myself in my house, trying not to look at my phone, trying to figure out the day, I guess. What am I gonna do? This is a day that's no longer about me, but it's also a day that is now purely about me. The scope of and the meaning of the birthday grew to mean different things in different contexts, and the one constant out of all of it ended up just being my mom. And it's kind of ironic to think about. We were growing up, we spent every day with our mom, and living, struggling, trying to get by. And then the special days would come, and we would go elsewhere, because going elsewhere meant getting things like lasagna and presents that didn't come from the dollar store, and getting to go to restaurants. And I know my mom tried. God, nobody tried harder to make something out of nothing. And I know we were thankful, and I know we were happy, but being able to look back on it with more mature eyes, just how hard that must have been for her to not be able to compete. Based on my mom's perspective, I know it was, as long as they're happy, it's okay. Even if I'm not the one making them happy. She never forgot. She always did what she could, even despite us being adults. And during her cancer fight, and I guess birthdays really don't matter much when you get older. I guess ultimately, though, my plans for the day, I was really hoping for sunshine and warm weather. Because like the vlog I put out for my 2020 birthday, where I was able to have those sunny drives and go swimming in Lake Willoughby and everything, just because it was so glorious and warm. I'm not getting that this year. It's going to rain. in the next couple hours. It's going to start, and it's not going to stop for a week. And it's unseasonably cold, so I've got my layers on. I could sit home and do nothing, which is very tempting. I could take myself out to eat, but that feels kind of sad. I don't feel like being around people. I have work I need to do at the theater. I desperately didn't want to have to do theater work on my birthday. But I got hit with depression real bad yesterday, and it did not happen. So I'm gonna have to go to the theater today, see what, if anything, I can get done. But I think I'm gonna take the really long way to get there. Maybe I can put a cap on these sad birthdays, you know? Maybe I can, maybe if I go to the graveyards. All right. We shall see. I'll take you along with me. Let's hope it doesn't rain and that we're able to get something done today. Every time we meet, I die a little more each day. Thoughts inside my brain, why won't they go away? False turd. Every time we meet, I cry a little more each day. Words remain unspoken now, time and time again. Time we talk, I fly, growing wings of gold. Swear I touch the sky, so the story goes. Every time we speak, I lie. Truth is far too real. These pretend emotions are the only thing I feel. See everything you've ever known, what you thought was love has turned your heart to stone. Every time we meet, I die a little more each day. History repeats itself time and time again. Time again. Time and time again. Feels weird to be here. This is where my dad lived. I haven't actually been here since I moved his stuff out. It was the end of October last year, roundabouts Halloween. Yeah, it's weird. So I would just walk right over there. Look through that window and see his TV, and then behind us right there, that's where he worked right up until he couldn't work anymore, just jockeying a register. So I'm probably gonna go in and get a couple of drinks for the road. Yep. Well, I was able to find some blast
the Zero, which I like. I can't find this anywhere, so that's kind of cool. Got a can of Liquid Death, appropriate for one's birthday, I guess. And then this is a weird one. Odyssey Sparkling Mushroom Elixir. Apparently it's got lion's mane and cordyceps in it. Whatever that is. It's dragon fruit lemonade, 2,500 milligrams of mushrooms. You can't make that shit up. Odyssey's sparkling elixirs are crafted to increase energy, cognitive edge, focus, and uplifting mood using concentrated fruiting body mushroom extracts. The sacred geometric Metatron's cube radiates positive vibes and empowers you to harness your personal power to do good. An exotic flavor fusion. Okay, well, time to drink some mushrooms on our birthday. It's not even cold. Whatever. Who cares? It's carbonated mushroom juice. Sláinte, I guess. Doesn't taste like much of anything, to be honest. Barely even tastes like lemonade. Blandly tart, and like a passion fruit walked by, or a dragon fruit walked by and just farted in its general direction. And I've had seltzers with more flavor than this. Wow, I'm really judgmental today. Onward to the next destination.
Razor blades, a happy face that greets me with a smile. The truth is just a crying shame that's going out of style. Enemies take over me. Stop the silence, let me bleed. Life is just a dying.
It's raining. Still.
Memories are haunting me.
Made it here, though.
I live my life with no regrets. At least I try to live it right. Free me, kill me, all the same. Day or night, flee or fight. Enemies take over me. Stop the silence, let me bleed. Life is just a dying dream. The memories are haunting me. On wanted wings, I'm taking flight. Kiss her softly before you say goodnight. The clock is stopped, I'm out of time. I'm not guilty, just haunted by design. Just haunted by design. Enemies take over me. Stop the silence.
Came to the theater, had to get some work done. Had to run a new optical HDMI from the onstage monitor to the tech booth up there, along with a 100-foot speaker cable. So I've got speakers there and behind there that I've been running in mono for years, and it's limited what I've been able to do creatively with sound design, only having a mono feed. So now I at least have that in stereo. And I was running a converter thing that took two Cat5Es and converted them to HDMI, and that ran, for a good 5-6 years, but just started fritzing out. So now we just have an optical HDMI. It's a piece of glass. Hopefully this holds up long term. Other than that, it's still pouring. My friend Rick was here when I got here, so I got some help. So that was good at least. It's my birthday. Still, My shirt is soaked. This is my dad's red flannel. It felt appropriate to wear it today, I guess. I think it's around about 6:30. I have an hour drive to get home. So this show opens in 6 days. Today is the 25th, of course. It opens on the 1st. I haven't designed lights. There's video elements that I still haven't edited. I mean, some of I've started, but none of them are done. None of them are finished. There's a video essay that I haven't even started. I guess stay late tomorrow night and do the lights, because I just, on the one hand, it's my birthday, but on the other hand, I just don't have it in me, and I guess I've been muscling through today. Just, oh, it's not so bad, it's not so bad. And I mean, yeah, I'm not sitting on the grass in Belvedere crying for 3 hours like I did last year, but I don't know if this year's really any improvement. If there was sunshine, it would help. Looking at the old forecast, your boy's got 5 straight days of rain. Fantastic. Pack up and go home so I can edit video, so I can maybe have those assets done. Guess we'll see. I guess I wish I had a happier ending for you, but I don't. This was my birthday. When I was last at the theater on Thursday, I left a couple slices of pizza there that I brought up for dinner. I brought those home. 3 days old, I'm sure it's fine. I'll have that for my birthday dinner. I still have a shitload of work to do, editing and other stuff, so I'll do what I can, and I guess if there's any takeaway from this, don't take your parents for granted. If they're still around, give them a call right now. Just tell them you love them. And maybe ask them the story of your birth on your birthday. Who knows? You may start your own new tradition. For now, I'm going to peace out. See you later.